this is the properties section of the BF Dynamics application. Now, we talked about a license and instance, and this is pretty straightforward. But on the properties, we have some additional information. Actually, before we do that, let's take a look at this one. We haven't checked this before, the edit instance part. Okay, here I have some additional information. Again, about the license and the the server and some options as well. So here, I think you can also change the collation and data in log files. So that comes in useful sometimes. But the important thing now is the file and properties. Okay. So the properties is divided in two sections. One is application areas and one is instance setup. We'll take a look at instance setup for now, and later we'll go to the application areas, which is more content. Okay, so the instance properties, you can already see it here. So that's pretty much what we have in the file edit. It's just a screen that we like to to have it everything bundled together in the properties section. Now, data warehouse properties. Now, that's another a feature that we use. Those of you familiar with SQL Server, you probably know about cluster column store index, but probably the majority of the people listening to this training will not have a clue what this is. So cluster column store index, it's a feature that, like the name suggests, it's clustering the indexes together. And the consequences of this is that the processing is faster when we enable this function. Now, this is again, it comes with some drawbacks, of course. So we only use it when we really need to. Okay, so that's for customer-to-customer decision, and it's not used very often, but we offer this feature the same way we do the filtering on the stage already. Okay, the decimal precision for stage and fact tables. This is also important. So what is decimal precision? Every field in Navision, let's take a look at stage GL entry. Okay, and let's say now we're not talking about dimensions here. We're talking about decimal numbers. So they're actually numbers, the measures. Okay, and you can see the field here is of a size 19.5. So what does this mean? This means that the number can be 19 numbers long, out of which 5 of them are decimal numbers. Okay, this is the size of the field that we found that is still takes not that much space, but is pretty much in line with what 90+% customer has. Okay, they don't have longer numbers than this one or more decimal points. It could happen that they would have one. When that happens, we would go to BF Dynamics application and change it here. Again, like with everything else, this has some implications other than just the size of the field itself. Namely, okay, a field takes a X amount of data. Now, Mladen can go into more specific with that. So it takes about a couple of kilobytes of data each specific field. It's 24 characters long. It's 19, sorry, 19, and 5 of which is decimal. So it takes some space. Now, if we increase that number, it will take more space. And when I say more space, it is not just one field, but all the fields in stage, which has decimal. And if we use that on fact, because if we enlarge this number to 3820, sorry, you have to use a comma here, 3820, and we use the same for the fact tables. Now, all of the fields with measures will be increased, and that will take more disk space. which is in some instances not negligible. Okay, it can represent quite a significant difference in data size. But if we absolutely have to do that, we will do it, of course, no problem. Every one of the features that I'm showing you now is just for you to remember that we have that, not that you'll actually use it often. Good. So this is data warehouse properties. The analysis properties is the server in which we have deployed our analysis service, database. This can be changed by choosing a different SQL server instance and then click apply. When you do that, you will have to deploy the analysis database again. So why? When you just change it, the application no is changed, but the database is still where it was before. Okay, and we create those databases when we deploy the solution. Okay, so that means that apart from changing, the server or the analysis database name, apart from clicking apply, you'll have to deploy analysis database as well, and then process analysis database. Okay. Now, important thing to remember here, I talked about multidimensional and tabular analysis database. You cannot switch between the two modes because the scripts for both are different, right? You can just switch through whichever deployment mode you have selected at first. Either it's tabular or multidimensional. Okay, and then we have the configuration part. When I say nothing to see here, that's pretty much it. We're not using very often. The one thing that is used is use wizard on, use wizard on startup. So that means that you will, when you will open the application, this screen will show up. Okay. But if we switch this information off, then, and you can see here, you also have this option here, show on startup, right? So when you open the application, the screen will show up. But if we uncheck that options, you won't have this screen. Yeah, it might even be better to switch it off once the instance is created. Because then when the client comes into the application the first time, when the client opens the application, it will see this and think that they will have to enter the license key again, but that is not true. You only do that when you need to create a new instance, right? Otherwise, you just go to File and open the instance that is already created. Good, so that's the setup, and now let's go to application areas. So here it becomes a little bit more interesting. Now, date dimension. We talked about this. Again, the most important dimension in our solution. So I've talked about this before. Not every customer are using the calendar date as a start of the year, right? Some of them, the financial year for some of the customer could start at any month of the year, April, October, middle of the year, doesn't matter. So what we actually did here is so we have an option to have the starting month to be set to any month of the year. And when we click update date dimension and then process everything, a year will start with a different month. Now, important to know here, you'll have, if you want to show that in Excel, you will not use the date dimension, but hierarchy, sorry, but you will use the fiscal date hierarchy. Okay, fiscal date. Now, in this case, I don't have it set up, okay? But if you do, so if you do, that will work. Okay, date and fiscal date. Let me just see if a fiscal date is different. Yeah, I don't have it set up, so that's fine. Good. So fiscal date versus normal calendar date. An option to set up the starting month of the financial year in here. Okay. Good. So also a option here. So a start of the year. So how do we know which element or which date do we add to date dimension? Sorry, I'll go here and I'll use this one. And I'll use the option. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. So this is the year. Okay. This is the this is the date dimension. The date dimension we can start with 2018 in this case. Why is that? Because the data also starts with 2018. And usually the company starts working with financial documents. So we take this date. So we decide which date will be the first to be added into date dimension from the table GL entry that we had before. Okay. So you can see here in the BF Dynamics application, it knows that the data set for this particular database starts in 2018. Okay, and when I didn't have the third database, when I only had this two, the start year was 2021. In some cases, the customer will have not financial documents, but some other documents that is coming into the database before they start the financial transactions. So in this case, you will have data in Excel under NA, so not applicable, okay? And why is it not applicable? So if you have a document with posting date at December 2017, and we start the date dimension from 2018 on, it doesn't, so BF Dynamics doesn't know to which date should it apply to, okay? Because it's not there. And then it will just show under not applicable. Yeah, so everybody understands that? So if that happens, we can manually return the starting year a few years back if necessary. Okay, everybody got that? Is that clear?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Good. So for our US customers, so Saurabh is not with us, but he will have the US customers. So this will set a date in a different format. They, of course, are using month, day, year instead of day, month, year like the rest of the world. So by setting this property and then updating day dimension, of course, deploying and processing, you will have in the reports instead of a January 1st, you would have, so 1/3/2018. So January the 3rd, 2018. Okay. Yeah, that's easy. That's pretty much understandable, right? Good. Yeah. This one, I forgot about this one. So fiscal year number will be set to the following calendar year number. What does this mean? It usually means that the companies and the customers, if they have a starting month of October, this will actually be a starting year of financial year, not this calendar year, but the next one. So if they start the year in October, it will not be October 2021, but it will be the start of financial year October, financial year 2022. Okay, so set the date to 1 year, to the following year. Okay, moving on to inventory. Now, of course, I've talked about a lot about data and the structure of data with the customers, and we have some really intensive operations going on in BF Dynamics. And when I say intensive, I say we take a lot of disk space. to calculate different measures and so on. Now, we haven't talked specifically about the states section. So a state of inventory, state of payable state, or receivable state. Okay, but what this means is that we figure out. Let me see if I have any data here. Maybe it will be easier for you to understand. So we'll go to inventory state. Okay, and we'll have the stock quantity by date. That is okay. And now I want you to pay attention sorry. Yeah. Okay. So let's go back. Let's show you this one. So let's read what is written here. So what is written here? Period in months when inventory balance is calculated daily. Okay. Outside of the selected period or outside the current year, calculate inventory balances on a monthly basis. So what does this mean? This means that okay. So first, going back to the data itself. So what does inventory state mean? So it means that you can figure out, or you can check with BI4 Dynamics, what is the state of particular inventory, so of particular item. Okay, let me just add an item dimension here. Maybe it will be even easier. But we have to find out the correct item. Spokes. Yeah, let's use this one. Filter it. Okay, let's put it in the columns. Okay, there we go. So yeah, not the best example, but still. Okay. So the state of the inventory is the same from the first day on here. So on June 2019, okay, they bought 10,000 of this item, spokes. Okay, stock quantity measure. Okay, stock quantity, and this is the amount of items they have in June 2019. Now, they want to know what the state of the inventory was in the past, okay? And we offer to them that we can calculate this on a daily level, because that's important to the customer. They want to know for each day what the inventory stock was, okay? But this only is relevant for a period of time. So for the last 6 months or for the last 1 year. So by having this property, we don't calculate everything on daily level anymore. But if we go into the past, we only see that we calculated at one date. So this is the end of the month. So the last day of the month. And you know, if you say that this is not, if you now think that this is not, oh, how can this be really, time and space saving? So you have to know that by doing this, we basically calculate the inventory state for each item, which can go into millions of items with the customer, for each date. So if they have 10 years worth of data and we only calculate the last year, that will bring the size down by 10 times already. Okay. But not only for the dates, it's also for the location dimension. Okay, we don't have location here as NA. I can still leave it in so you can see. NA, let's do the tabular design here. Okay, so NA on the sorry, location, and also the company. Okay, company, date, item, location. So date, item, location. Those are three dimensions that work within the inventory state. What this means is they can figure out what the state of the inventory was on an exact date on the exact location for the exact item. Okay. Again, by doing this, we save a lot of time, you know, and of course disk space. If we choose to do this for 1 year and they have 10 years worth of data, this is 10 times smaller size of that table. Yeah, we shrink down the size of data. Of course, you know, if the customer wants and they can have they have enough disk space, we can do this for, you know, as many months as possible. You know, as required, not possible. We can also do it daily, of course, even outside this period or on weekly level. So they would basically have this information for the end of each week in January. Okay, that is still a big saving. So the same thing that is true for inventory state is also for the payable state and the receivable state. So the same thing. But here we're not calculating what the inventory is, right? But we're calculating how much the customers owe us or we owe to our vendors. Okay, payables and receivables. You'll get in the content side of things with Mladen. Okay, we have some other options here. So this is the purchase. Okay. So this is so we have a module or measure group which is called purchase and sales delivery. Okay, and usually the customer is using one of these dates to identify to actually to have it on the documents. So either is expected receipt date, so requested, promised, or planned. One of these four. This is pretty much industry standard. And how we usually is expected receipt date, right? Not requested, it is expected. So when we expected it to go out, not what it was requested or promised or planned or whatever. So expected, right? But you can choose each one of these if necessary. And the same thing is true for the sales delivery, planned delivery date, planned shipment date, promise, and requested. Okay, I'm not sure I have any data here regarding the sales delivery. We can check, of course. Okay, we'll go to sales delivery and hope for the best. Date, okay, I still have it. Amount, sales delivery. Okay, I have something. This is good. So, and when you see amount late or amount on time, right? This is, or days late, okay? Days late, how many days it was late. This calculation is based on the date that we select in the application. Okay, so either it's days late for planned delivery date, either it's days late for a shipment date or delivery date, sorry, requested or promised or planned, whatever you select here. And customer usually has one of these that they're making their reference to in the reports. Okay, so you select one, you click apply, and the one that is already selected is the most used. I'm again talking about the 90% here, right? Or even more. But the amount, then the amounts late and on time and days late and so on is calculated based on that date.